go.
Okay, I've gone ahead and started mine.
Okay, there. I'm going to check and see how mine is doing here. All right. Let me check on the phone to see how everything goes there. Blah, 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 you know. Okay. I was at the mall area. Wanted to see how is it going there. What's happening here. It's been a while since I've been there. Figure I had to hang out there and see what's going on. Anything much has changed, and he knew this and he knew that, but unfortunately, nothing has really been going. It's still the same as always there. I'm thinking about possibly inviting Minnesota Vikings fan to come on the show to hang for a while. I know it's so.
Yeah, if you'll do it.
All right, there. All right, because it's been a while since he's been on my channel here. Now, as you can see, we're live right now on my channel. Thank goodness. As I was telling Ark, I'm using my other computer, the one I've been using in a while there. And the reason being is because, as you know, on the current computer that I've been using, I've been having a lot of lagging issues on it. I'm thinking possibly it may be something with either the CPU on the computer there, or it's going to be something else. Maybe I have to readjust my OBS or something like that. But either way, I had to resort to using this computer that I'm using right now. And so far, everything seems to be working pretty well there. It says excellent condition on the live streaming page that I have right now, the tab I should say. And as I was telling Ark, YR and Keith are taking a break from YouTube. A lot of things have been coming up. I guess they want to give it a while before things kind of die down. There was a lot of issues for the past couple times last week there on Ken's channel. A lot of issues was coming up here and left and right. I won't go into details, but they decided to take a break, and so I guess for this episode and the next one, up until they decide to come back, it'll be me and Ark for the time being there. So I changed the title of my end here to what you have, music notes instead of music memories, because it's been basically music notes for the past 10 episodes that we have done. And we're taking a look at, on this episode, I guess will probably be part 1, I guess.
Because there's a ton of them.
Yeah, we got lots of male vocalists in the music realm there, whether it's R&B, soul, rock and roll, heavy metal, or it's pop, or whichever there. Some known, some unknown, and some that deserve to be known. And basically, we're going to take turns on to talk about all the prime vocalists in the world there. And we're also going to talk about singers who also play good instruments themselves. Like, for instance, James Taylor is a guitar player, but he's also a singer as well. He's considered a good vocalist there and a good songwriter. So definitely he's going to be thrown into the loop there. But I like to start off my end with someone who obviously YR is going to talk about at the top of his list there, Rob Halford of Judas Priest, who, as you know, left Judas Priest back in 1991. He came back in 2003, and he's still with them today, He's considered one of the prime heavy metal vocalists of all time. He's been able to do one of those high shriek notes on various tracks like Exciter, Victim to Changes, He's able to do this high octave like a mofo. In fact, it was rumored that Luciano Pavarotti gave Halford the thumbs up. He called him one of the most outstanding vocalists of all time. And to be respected, to get a nod from one of the most respected opera singers of all time, that's definitely a big boost to your career there.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah. And it's safe to say that Halford, who kind of surprised a lot of people when he came out of the closet back in 1998. It's probably one of the most he's basically responsible for a lot of singers throughout the 1980s shrieking their voices up, going ah in a higher pitch like they often do at times.
Yeah.
He was an influence on Sebastian Bach of Skid Row. He was an influence on King Diamond. He was an influence on many singers within the heavy metal realm there, including Tim Ripper Owens, who, as you know, replaced Rob Halford back in 1997. He did 2 albums with The Priest, Jugulator, and Demolition there. He's currently the vocalist for KK's Priest, featuring former Judas Priest guitarist KK Downing. And basically, I'm going to definitely mention him next. And I'll let you start with your first pick.
Okay. This guy is number 1 on a lot of people's lists.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Sinatra.
Oh, yeah. Because he was one of the good vocalists in the era that he was in there. In fact, he was still a top-notch vocalist. He was still able to sing as smooth as silk as he was able to up until his death.
Yeah, and his catalog is
massively huge. And from what I understand, he was the guy that started Reprise Records.
That's what I've heard too.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. Reprise Records is a Warner distributed label that had Fleetwood Mac, the Jimi Hendrix Experience, Dino, Desi, and Billy, the Kinks, the Electric Prunes. His daughter Nancy Sinatra recorded for that label. Neil Young and Crazy Horse recorded for that label many times.
Yeah, but I figured I'd start off with a bang.
You did. Props to Frank, In fact, I know Tony Bennett paid his homage to Frank on that album of Sinatra covers called To Be Perfectly Frank.
Yeah, and this is one of the reasons that when we were talking about this, I said vocalists, not lead singers.
Yeah.
Because obviously Frank Sinatra is just a vocalist. He's not a lead singer.
Yeah. Hey, who cannot forget that album he did called Duets, which featured duets from everybody from Bono from U2 to this person to that person,
Yeah.
And that was a big... And in fact, that album went to number 1. I think it was in 1990, 91, if I'm correct.
I'd have to look it up. I don't know.
Yeah. But it was a massively big album for Frank there. All right.
And you got a number 2. Mm-hmm. Well, your next one.
Okay, my next one is, of course, the man I just previously mentioned, Tim Ripper Owens, who, prior to joining Judas Priest, was singing in a Priest tribute band called British Steel. And in fact, that story is probably one of the most greatest rock and roll stories ever. You sing in a tribute band, and you get asked to join the main band that you're paying tribute to. I mean, imagine if you're in a Beatles tribute group back in 1970. Paul McCartney announces that he's leaving the Beatles. And then you get the call from John, George, and Ringo to replace Paul on bass guitar and vocals. How much... one cannot imagine the massive smile across one's face if you get that offer. Of course, you're going to have a lot of shoes to fill, definitely. But, you got to remember, you're coming in with your own ideas, not only just to replace someone else's ideas, but come in with your own. And no doubt, Tim Ripper Owens had a massive shoes to fill when he joined Judas Priest back in 1997. And the story is that Scott Travis, current Priest drummer, and who also drummed it with Rob Halford's first post-Priest band, Fight, got a video cassette put into his duffel bag he discovered that when he got back home, it was the singer Tim Ripper Owens from the Judas Priest tribute group. And figured, hey, let's contact Glenn, KK, and Ian and think about getting this guy as our new singer. And so Owens got the call from their assistant manager, flew away all the way out to London, head right to the studio where they were at the moment, did the audition, and got the job. Now, they released, as I mentioned, 2 albums with Owens, Jugulator and Demolition. And sadly, those records have been overlooked by many Priest diehards throughout many years. And I guess one of the reasons why is because to the diehards, it just really wasn't the same with someone else filling in Halford's shoes.
Yeah, it's always a weird thing to me that diehards get so strong about, I want the original band that...
They all do. They all do. I mean, like the same thing with Black Sabbath. There were a lot of people who were questioning Ronnie James Steele for taking over Ozzy Osbourne's place when he first joined.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I know. People are particularly picky, unfortunately, there. Now,
yeah, and you could always say, well, okay, Ringo wasn't an original Beatle. Should you quit liking the Beatles?
Yeah, exactly. But then again, we have yet to hear how Pete Best drummed it when he was with them.
Well, he was bad enough they fired him.
Wow. Who knows?
Or the manager did.
Yeah, we know the story about that. They got the manager to do their dirty work, I guess.
Yeah.
Now here's something else. Halford gave Priest the thumbs up when they got Ripper Owens because he said in the interview that it was a huge weight off his shoulders. Because many people predicted that Priest would be done after Halford's departure. Because it's like, how can you replace the metal god Rob Halford with somebody else? Would they be able to do the same kind of high notes? Would they be able to sing in the same style?
It's always nice when a former member of a band says, hey, keep on going, guys. You're doing good.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry I'm not a part of it. And there's a lot of them that do that. And then there's the 1 or 2 that figure, I'm out of the band should quit.
Yep.
Roger Waters.
Exactly. I was thinking the exact same thing, Ozzy Osbourne believed that for a while. He said he shouldn't continue with Black Sabbath after his firing. He said he even called it the Sabbath with Dio Blackmore Sabbath because it sounded more like Rainbow than Black Sabbath. And we're going to definitely touch on that topic later on in this program. But
okay.
But Tim Ripper Owens definitely gets the nod, and as I stated, he's currently the frontman for KK's Priest, featuring KK Downing, formerly of Judas Priest. I don't know if they're going to be touring anytime soon. I know me and Wire talked about seeing them perform live. I'm hoping possibly we'll be able to perform at possibly the Concert Pub on 1960 Road, because I would like to definitely... That's the best way to check out a music legend, when they're kind of like past their prime, when they're playing clubs again, because you don't have to worry about going through all sorts of security, waiting how many hours in for them to come out and say hi.
Right.
Yeah, that's a sound. It's a good thing there when they play clubs.
Okay, my next one is going to be in the same era as my last one.
Mm-hmm.
Bing Crosby.
Ah.
He also has a very huge catalog of stuff.
Yeah.
And some world famous stuff, White Christmas.
Yeah. And the duet that he did with David Bowie, the Little Drummer Boy.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Look, that's still a classic there to this very day.
But he definitely had a golden voice.
Absolutely. Yeah, he was there.
And also was a movie star of sorts.
Yeah, I remember
he was in a lot of movies.
I see there. All right. The next one on my list was, of course, Ozzy Osbourne from Black Sabbath and his solo career. Ozzy, that definitely was credited by Ritchie Blackmore to have an extraordinary voice there. No one can dispute it or duplicate it, though there are some who can. There are a number of Ozzy tribute acts out there. There's this one I saw at the concert pub called simply Oz, OZZ. There was one back in Michigan, the southeast area, called Crazy Babies. There was a Crazy Train. And if I'm correct, there was an Ozzy tribute band out of Canada that's simply called Crazy Babies as well. I'm thinking they'll probably be the same one, if I'm correct. Because I remember seeing Crazy Babies, the Canadian band, in a place called Rum Runners in Windsor, Ontario. But I think it was around somewhere in the later part of the 1990s. And they did a good show there. Now, of course,
Okay.
well, I'm not
Go
done
ahead.
yet. Now, of course, Ozzy is still, he's apparently making a new record, apparently, from what I understand. And it's going to feature some members of Pearl Jam, for what I heard.
Hmm.
And, of course, Ozzy definitely, he's currently going through Parkinson's, like Glenn Tipton, the priest, is going through right now. He has, and of course, Ozzy has gained a lot of weight. You can tell by the big bulge in his belly area there. But then again, Bill Ward has always had a big belly when you think about it there, as much. Now, as you know, Osbourne has had a lot of issues with the bottle, with drugs and alcohol, and many times in the past. In fact, that was what led to his firing back in 1979. And of course, Ronnie James Dio came in, and I'll stop right there and let you continue with your next pick there because I wanted to also discuss between Dio and Ozzy, the beef between those two for that period of time.
Okay. My next one is a different era, but just as much a huge. Perhaps you've heard of him,
Yeah.
Elvis Presley,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely, no doubt, his voice remains phenomenal.
and he has a huge catalog.
Yep. Absolutely. There. Compilations, movie soundtracks, official albums, greatest
Yeah, and he was
hits,
in
you name
something
it.
like 30 movies, I believe it was.
Yeah.
They're all generally the same theme, but
Hmm.
well, I'd say generally because a couple of them differed.
Yeah. And yes,
But,
Rob. Yes.
they
And
were fun to watch.
And shout out to YR in my chat there. Rob Halford, number one. Yep, he was the first pick. Okay, there. The next one I want to get to, as I mentioned, I want to continue this discussion between is, of course, Ronnie James Dio, who, prior to joining Black Sabbath, was in Rainbow with Ritchie Blackmore, Cozy Powell, rest in peace, Tony Carey, and Jimmy Bain, also rest in peace. Dio came in, and kind of like gave Sabbath a new direction. He came in to kind of like Sabbath were now able to go to different areas that they couldn't with Ozzy. You know,
Right.
of course they had to change some of the not necessarily the tuning, but they had to do some songs in a different key. Like for instance, Sweet Leaf, which was basically on an A chord, it had to be done on a different chord there. I guess it was think about a D chord or E chord or something like that, or a G chord, because it had to fit Ronnie's voice. Now, there was an issue. Now, Ozzy, as I said, had an issue with Black Sabbath continuing without him. He would now say today that the reason he said those things about Dio was because he was hurt, he was angry, he was like finding out your husband has a new girlfriend. That's how he felt at that time. Of course, at one point, he even said that Dio looked like a fucking gnome.
Hmm.
Now, keep in mind, Dio never really forgot all those things that Ozzy said about him. Because in 1992, when on his supposed farewell tour, the No More Tours tour, Ozzy invited his old band, Black Sabbath, to perform at the Costa Mesa show for 2 nights. Dio refused to participate. Now, he said it to the press and to the public that it's Ozzy's night. I don't want to spoil it. But according to an interview that Ozzy did for a magazine about that subject, he said that the facts he got from Dio himself said, quote unquote, never will Ronnie James Dio share the same stage with Ozzy Osbourne. And of course, Ozzy was like, what is this? What is this guy's deal? What the fuck, bro? Of course, then again, you got to remember, Ozzy took massive shots at Sabbath and Dio, after his firing. Dio just simply said, hey, we're too much like gentlemen to go off like that, like Ozzy did in the past. So, but Dio, who sadly was taken from us in 2010 from stomach cancer. In fact, I remember he was in Texas receiving treatment. I remember seeing a news article about that on YouTube around that time, prior to his death.
Right.
Dio would also have his old band Elf, later the Elves. And we got to mention this. Ronnie, Dio, and the Prophets, which were started in the 1960s. Look up their version of Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow. Highly excellent. They also did covers of Jethro Tull, of course War Pigs as well, and a couple other songs as well in between his sets with the band The Elves. And of course we got include his solo band, simply called Dio, which released a number of albums. The song Holy Diver still remains one of the top-notch songs on the radio playlist next to Rainbow in the Dark. And sadly, no longer with us, thanks to the Big Evil C. Although Dio did patch things up with Iommi and Butler and got Vinny Appice back on the drums to form Heaven and Hell. They couldn't call themselves Black Sabbath at that time because apparently it was much rumored that Ozzy and Sharon had the rights to the name. And what they did on that project was simply did only the Sabbath for the Dio songs.
Right.
All right there. So, rest in peace, Ronnie James Dio. You are still loved and missed to this very day.
Another one from the early times from me. Tony Bennett.
Who I just mentioned a while ago.
Yeah. But we'll mention him again. He had a lot of the guys I've done so far have huge catalogs.
Yeah.
Tony Bennett has the famous song about leaving his heart in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah, that's the time. That's one that's timeless altogether.
But he's another one that, people listening, you should look up some of these guys and hear them sing.
It's also let's not forget the songs he did with Lady Gaga on that album he gets. I forgot the title of it, but that was a big hit there.
Yeah.
Right.
But he's definitely worth mentioning.
Okay, my next one here is, of course, I'm going to go towards one of the first bands that I started listening to, the Beatles, obviously, John Lennon. He was a damn good singer.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, absolutely there. As well as
his solo career.
Absolutely. With the Beatles and beyond. I mean, his voice still remains top-notch to this very day. The only person who comes close is his first son, Julian, who had a career of his own around the 1980s. I guess, and by the way, Julian recorded his father's signature song "Imagine" for the relief of the benefits is supposed to go to the Ukrainian benefits, to help benefit the people in Ukraine there with what's going on over there. I mean, they're fighting against them in Russia.
Didn't his other son have a career of sorts too?
Sean Lennon. I think so. Yeah. In fact, I remember when the first Gulf War started, back around 1991. Him, members of Skid Row, Guns N' Roses, and everybody else did their new updated version of "Give Peace a Chance."
Yeah.
And I guess that was played massively on MTV when that war started, all day to be exact.
Okay, my next guy. I'm stepping out of the
Yep.
40s finally,
Ah.
but I'm stepping into Ray Charles.
You know what? It fits to say that a well-known English lad named Steve Winwood would definitely channel the same kind of voice as Ray Charles. Because when
Yeah.
you up in times when you often listen to stuff from Charles and Winwood, they kind of sound similar in a way.
Well, it's funny because when Charles started out, he wanted to be a country singer.
Ah, really?
And his friends would tell him, "You can't be a country singer. You're black." And he says, "But I'm a country singer. I want to be a country singer."
Yeah.
And then he kind of went. He did country. He did some country songs, but his best known works were more of the R&B.
Yeah, Georgia on My Mind was one of them. Well, if that's the case, somebody forgot to tell Charlie Pride
I
that
know,
black man. I know, because that black man can't sing country.
which they can obviously.
Yeah. All right.
But Charles would have been a very, very good country singer.
Yeah. And let's
That's
give
what
him
he wanted to do.
and give him credit for well. You know, he had a heroin addiction as detailed in the movie Ray, with Jamie Foxx playing the title role. And true to his word, he recovered and never touched that shit again.
But another guy that you people out there should look up and hear his stuff.
Absolutely. Well, there's a compilation at the nearby Walmart of his recordings there. It's a double album, of course. But definitely, Ray Charles definitely deserves a lot of credit. All right, now, my second pick from the Beatles had to be, of course, Paul McCartney, who wrote one of the many of the passionate love songs for the group. Michelle, here, I think it was Here, There, and Everywhere. I think that may have been, yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's a Paul song there, definitely.
Yesterday.
Yesterday, obviously, one of the most covered song of all time,
Yep.
which originally, as we know, originally was called Scrambled Eggs. Thank goodness they changed the title because that wouldn't fly with many Beatles fans out there. Now, of course, Paul McCartney would have a solo career and a second band called Wings throughout the 70s there. And I guess and giving him his due, he was on the first artist out there to establish ownership of the copyrights of his recordings. He has a thing called MPL Communications, and where the copyright is owned by McCartney and that company there. And the obvious reason they did that is because when the Beatles disbanded, they didn't have ownership of their recordings. They were all owned by this publishing company called Northern Songs. And right now the recordings are owned by Apple Corps, if I'm correct. And we cannot forget.
I believe so.
Yes, and
There was a period of time Michael Jackson owed him.
Yeah, he did, and that's what caused the rift between MJ and McCartney. It was because no doubt, it's no secret that McCartney resented Jackson for getting that, doing that. Even the Beastie Boys said at that time, "Who is Michael Jackson to own the songs of the Beatles?" For crying out loud. But then again, think of this: it was McCartney who suggested Michael Jackson get into purchasing song publishing rights. Because I think if I remember hearing, McCartney owned some of the rights to Buddy Holly's songs. I don't know if that's true or not. I remember hearing that only a couple of times back when that news came out back in the 80s there. Right?
Okay. My next one, I'm going to dip back again into the old days.
Mm-hmm.
Nat King Cole.
Oh, yeah. The father of the Natalie Cole, the man, what's his name? His
Ramblin'
song? Yep,
Rose.
that's what it. Yep, I remember that song. One of the great crooners of all time.
Lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And what did he die from? Some sort of infection, I think it was.
I think that's the case. I don't remember, to be honest.
Yeah.
I
Because
know
I.
we covered him way back
Uh huh.
on the tragedy shows.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. I mean, it fits to say that his daughter Natalie had a lot of drug issues throughout her life, and that was apparently caused by her father's death.
Hmm.
And of course, Natalie Cole would clean up, establish her solo career, have a brief hit with that Springsteen cover, Pink Cadillac. But
Yeah.
in 1990, she decided to do her father's songs, and they mixed in her vocals with her father's song for the new updated version of Unforgettable, and that
Yeah, it was
became a
kind of the same
massive
thing.
hit.
It's kind of the same thing they did with Elvis Presley and his daughter
Yeah,
on their in that remix of "In the Ghetto." Is
yep.
that it? Yeah.
I think so. I got to look that up. I know. I guess the current Leonard Skinner did the same thing with one of the early songs. They had Johnny Van Sant sing alongside his older brother Ronnie.
Hmm.
Yeah, amazing what technology of today can do.
Yeah. And then again, you kind of, I don't know. I mean, it's good for what it is, but
Yeah, it's kind of funny there. It's kind of funny. Now, my next pick will, of course, be George Harrison,
right.
also from the Beatles there. You know, Harrison was one time quoted by, actually, he was mentioned by the guitarist from the band Creed, Mark Tremonti. He once said in the statement at Harrison's passing in 2001, which also was from cancer, that he was the dark side of the Beatles because some of his songs, up to the breakup, had that little darkness to them, like my I, me, mine, you know. And he was one of the first guys
Tax
to,
man.
yeah, tax man, yep. They, anybody who's going through tax issues right now or earlier this year can relate to that song, no doubt. That's still probably one of the popular songs when the deadline comes near.
Right.
All right. All right. So George Harrison, and I know I mentioned the new video for his song "My Sweet Lord." Have you ever got a chance to check that video out
No,
yet?
I need to do that.
All right, I'll
Did
definitely.
you listen to the 3 songs I sent you?
Yes, I did. Yes, definitely. I
Did the
have.
Fleetwood Mac one surprise you?
Yes, it did in a lot of ways. Yes, it was a good song there, and definitely got to give the Mac its due because they last so long for so many years, John and Mick,
Right.
basically, because they were the two of
And
the original members of the group.
right. And that Creedence song is actually one of my favorites.
Yeah, it is. Okay, there. Okay, is it your turn or my turn? No, it's your
Yeah.
turn. Yeah, your turn. There we go.
Okay. Gonna go a little more forward and go with Stevie Wonder.
All right. Okay. Because he's a good singer as well as a good harmonica player, keyboard player, and drummer.
In fact, I think his first hit was something called "Hey Harmonica Man,"
I
and he
think,
played the harmonica and sang.
yeah, I remember the thing. I think it was still, one I remember when it was a Fingertips Part 2.
Oh, that might have been the first one, but Harmonica Man was early.
All right, there.
Uh, 60s on those songs
Yep, exactly.
when he was still basically a kid.
Yeah. and Detroit native as well.
Yep.
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 In fact, that harmonica playing would make it way on many other songs, like
Yeah.
Elton John's. I guess that's why they call it the blues.
And Dave Mason, the lonely one.
Ah, yeah, yeah. So credit to Big Stevie for that, for his work as well there. All right, there.
Which that's a great song.
All right. Okay, but my next pick would have to be a man named Glenn Hughes. Who's
You skipped Ringo.
Oh yeah. Well, Ringo wasn't that much of a
Shit.
Ringo that much was a singer there. Only one basically either Yellow Submarine, Don't Pass Me By, and a couple others I remember. But Ringo
Don't
did have
Come Easy.
Yep, exactly. That was from his solo career.
Right.
I don't know if Ringo's solo career ever got fully off the ground like John, George, and Paul's did.
Well, no,
But
it was short.
yeah, it
There
was.
wasn't but there.
Because basically they looked at him as simply a drummer and nothing else. You know.
I know, and I was kidding anyway.
I know exactly. Yeah. And by the way, we got to now. What am I talking about? Duh. Forgive me, folks. Now, Glenn Hughes started out in a band called Trapeze with guitarist Mel Gallery, who I guess would later become a member of Whitesnake, the original lineup. Dave Holland, who would later go on to drum for Judas Priest in the 80s. Now, he would later, after that band broke up, he would join Deep Purple, replacing Roger Glover. He would also be the co-vocalist on a number of their songs.
Right.
After Purple folded in 1976, years on down the line, he would demonstrate his full vocal abilities on a project called Phenomenon, which was basically a project put together by somebody whose name I forgot, but it was basically a concept story with set to music. I guess it was
Right.
supposed to be a video that comes on to accompany the album there, but it's basically a unique sci-fi story. Probably on the next episode, I'll definitely look it up once again because I remember having the album along with the songs on it there. And Hughes is one amazing vocalist.
Well, yes, he is.
Yeah, he is. A year later, that was back in 1985, by the way. Now, a year later, he would become the singer for Tony Iommi's Black Sabbath. Listen to his vocals on the album he did with them, Seventh Star. His vocals are phenomenal as well. He toured with Sabbath during that year as well, but he had to be let go because of drug issues he was having. He would be replaced by a guy named Ray Gillen, who was passed away in 1997 from AIDS complications, from what I understand there.
Wow.
Yeah. But Glenn Hughes, he continued on. I guess he did some sessions with Iommi, I guess, later on throughout the early 2000s. In fact, Heaven and Hell did a show together at some festival. Butler, Iommi, and Appice, and Glenn Hughes was the frontman for that performance there. We'll take it over at Dio's place.
Okay, and my next one, I'm dropping back into the 50s again.
All right.
Perry Como.
Oh. Yeah, it's 'cause I don't think my ma had any much of a Perry Como song there.
He had hits. He had one called "Catch a Falling Star."
Uh-huh.
And put it in your pocket and save it for a rainy day, whatever.
All right, there.
And "Hot Diggity Dog Davy."
Mm-hmm. All right, there.
And he had others, but those are the ones I'm thinking of. But he's another one of those 50s crooners.
All right,
that's
there.
worth listening to.
Okay, there, definitely. Okay, my next crooner will have to be from the 80s on up to his passing in 2008. And he was a soul singer, one of the best soul singers out there. Luther Vandross.
That would have been my guess.
Absolutely. Because this man was able to channel a simple song that the Carpenters wrote back in the 70s called Superstar. It was a simple little ballad of a girl wishing for her rock star love to come back. Luther took that song and made that into a massive fucking epic. Top notch, no question. And he did that massively. He also did the same thing with a Dionne Warwick song called If Anyone Had a Heart.
He was definitely one of the best later crooners.
All right there. Yes, definitely. All right.
My next one, I'm dipping into another realm entirely. I'm going to go with Johnny Cash.
All right. That baritone voice he had was most unique there. Yeah.
And you can definitely name his hits. There's not many people that can't.
All right. Yeah. Many of them. We all know the main ones. I Walk the Line. Ring of Fire. Boy Named Sue. His cover of Nine Inch Nails is Hurt. His cover of Soundgarden's Rusty Cage. I mean, that baritone voice is still copied by most country singers today at times.
Yeah.
Right there, definitely.
And in Europe?
Okay. My next, star would have to be another R&B crooner who was often, when he first started, compared to Luther Vandross a couple of times there, because in a way they kind of like had that similar vocal style there. Freddie Jackson. We know his song, You Are My Lady, still one of the popular love ballads that's played on the soft rock and R&B stations there. Still one of the he's done other great songs such as Jam Tonight, Friends and Lovers, and one of my personal favorites from him called Have You Ever Loved Somebody, which basically is telling this lady to give love another chance. Maybe this time you won't get you won't get heartbroken once again like you did before there.
Right. Okay, my next one's a little more modern, but he did start in the early 70s, maybe even there.
All right.
Maybe even the late 60s. Elton John.
Yeah. Good singer there.
Another massive catalog.
Oh, yeah, massive catalog. And I guess he's all those. It would be nice to have all that catalog reissued on vinyl, like they're doing, other than these compilations that come out, when you think about it. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, that needs to be reissued. People need to know all the other songs from that album, other than Love Lies Bleeding, Funeral for a Friend, and the title cut there. And, of course, Betty and the Jets.
Candle in the Wind.
Yep, absolutely. Which, by the way, we all know was written about Marilyn Monroe.
Right.
Yep. Okay. I'm going to go to someone who Elton John did a duet with. George Michael, who was taken from this planet in 2016, in December of that year. Now, people often people made fun of the fact that he was caught, trying to bang some dude in the bathroom. That, of course, led to the revelation that he was gay,
right.
But he was a damn good singer when you look at it. The songs he did with Wham and his solo career, songs like Father Figure, Careless Whisper, Praying for Time, Freedom, all those songs he did, Definitely, he was one of the top respected singers in the UK there, and here in America as well. Rest in peace, George.
Yeah. Next guy, for me, got his start, I believe, in the 50s, but was popular through the 60s and 70s for the most part. He even had his own variety hour on TV. Dean Martin.
All right. Yeah, definitely. I remember the only real song I never know from him was Since I Met You, Baby. And that was made into a video that the early MTV played of numerous times around that era there.
Oh, he had a hit,
Oh, yeah. A lot
long
of
string
hits.
of them.
Yep, that's true there. And I know he was one of the original members of the Rat Pack with Sammy Davis Jr., Frank Sinatra, and I guess there was a fourth member, I guess, whose name escapes me.
Joey Bishop.
Mm-hmm. It's right there. Okay. Okay, so my next one you have to be someone who was taken from us in the same year George Michael was, 2016. Prince Rogers Nelson, aka Prince. When he first started, he had all of the songs of his Cup Free Sphere albums would be sung at a high pitch, girly like style there. Then again, I guess when he released a Controversy in 1981, he decided, to sing like a dude or like a regular guy, except for a couple of songs like Private Joy and Do Me Baby. He would eventually, start. He would continue to sing normal throughout the rest of his albums, like Purple Rain, 1999, Diamonds and Pearls, and he kept that up to his passing and up to, of course, in 2016. Prince.
Okay. My next one is one I've termed my guilty pleasure. I really like this guy.
All right.
Neil Diamond.
All right.
He's done a lot of songs I like.
All
And
right.
he's done a lot of songs that are famous.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Sweet Caroline.
Yep. I'm a Believer, which he wrote for the Monkees.
Right.
You Don't Bring
Solitary Man.
So You Don't Bring Me Flowers with Barbra Streisand, Forever in Blue Jeans, Heartlight, inspired by the movie E.T.
I Am, I Said.
All right. Yep. And he's still considered one of the cool cultures of today throughout the 90s. Apparently,
Yeah.
a lot of karaoke nights they would have, whenever someone sings Sweet Caroline, everyone in the bar would go,
Ba,
Sweet.
ba, ba.
Yep, exactly. Sweet Caroline, whoa, all that kind of stuff there. I'll definitely definitely still do that when Neil Diamond does shows today. But then again, he hasn't done these shows because apparently he has Parkinson's disease.
Yeah, he's not able to perform right now
I
because
know,
of
because of
health
that.
issues.
Yeah, and neither is Linda Ronstadt.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now, my next one, that be the raspy, loud voice of John Fogerty from Creedence Clearwater
yeah.
Revival. He had a massive voice when it comes to those songs that he wrote. His solo career and CCR and combined, he had a lot of raspiness, loudness to his voice there when it came to those songs like Fortunate Son, Run Through the Jungle, The Old Man Down the Road, Rock and Roll Girls, Eye of the Zombie, Soda Pop, Centerfield, yes. All those songs combined there. He definitely gets a nod from this program here.
No question about it.
Yep.
Okay, my next one I'm going to dabble into R&B again and go with James Brown.
All right. Oh yeah, the Godfather of Soul himself, and
Yeah.
he was a singer. Despite all the jokes from Eddie Murphy saying, "Oh, James Brown can't understand what he says," like get up on it. He was a singer. All that stuff there. But then again, at the same time, he can't help but make fun of because that's all we often hear and see James Brown do when they used to see him perform.
Yeah.
And it's safe to say that some of James Brown's style kind of influenced the man I previously mentioned, Prince.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And he was definitely a showman.
Yeah, he was. He was. And the one thing I want to know is the wife that he was involved in at his time of his death. How is she doing? Because if you remember, there was a lot of court debacle going on, saying that she was now forced out of the place that she lived in when she was involved with James. And I don't. There was one photo I saw of her kneeling down at the gates of that estate, in complete sorrow, looking on like she was just kicked out of the place that she lived with her loved one. And it's like I'm wondering how that girl is doing now. Where is she? Where is
I
she?
don't know that, unfortunately.
You know what? I should probably look that up. Definitely. I'm going to do that right now. All right, you go ahead there.
Oh, well, do you want me to do another one?
Yeah, go right ahead. While I look up this information here.
Staying with R&B, we'll go with another one that had a tragic ending. Marvin Gaye.
Oh my gosh. Well, if it's to say that Marvin Gaye Sr., his father, definitely got his just desserts slow in time after what he did to his son there. I mean, when you think
Yeah.
about it, when you really think about it, she definitely, excuse me, I'm losing track. I'm trying to concentrate on my song while I'm looking up the information that I mentioned I'm supposed to do. One of the things that got me was the simple fact that over assurance argument, a legend's life had to be taken away. But
Yeah.
then again, Marvin Gaye Sr. was no angel. He was not a good guy in general. He did some abusive things to his son, which at that time was very common. I mean, a lot of things were going on at that time, in the households that nobody ever spoke of at that time until now. And the catalog that Marvin Gaye had, from Sexual Healing, What's Going On, Heard It Through the Grapevine, all those songs that he did, the songs he did with Tammy Terrell, Ain't No Mountain Higher. I mean, it still remain timeless to this day. In fact, it's no secret that Gaye influenced Bobby Brown of New Edition. When he was still involved with New Edition prior to his departure from the group in '85, Brown incorporated a tribute to Marvin Gaye, in his honor. In his song, Rock With You Tonight from 1990, he said, "Let me put on some music. How about some Marvin Gaye?" Definitely he was a big, fan of Marvin Gaye, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So rest in peace, Marvin Gaye. You're still loved and missed by the R&B genre to this moment.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Next one I'll do is back into the 50s, 60s. Pat Boone.
All right. It's kind of funny, he's a Christian singer, but he was able to step out of that realm for a while and do that heavy metal covers album. You remember the controversy over that?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
What's kind of funny is that the Christian fundamentalists and the Christian crowd were not too happy about that. They thought he was selling out until they realized these were just covers covered in Pat Boone style. And one of those covers, his version of Crazy Train, would later become the theme music for the Osbourne's reality show on MTV back in 2002.
Yeah, a lot of the people that he covered liked the songs.
All right.
So it wasn't like he made any enemies.
All right there, yeah.
And I guess I'll keep going until you find what you're looking for.
Okay, I think I may have one coming up here. What's her name there? His third wife. Let's see there. Tommy Ray Brown. That was her name. You know, she was the last wife, the third wife of James Brown. And according to this, something from the Daily Mail, she spoke out for the first time of how she fears the singer was piled with drugs and murdered, as she calls for a police investigation. He died in 2006 of heart failure after recording decades of path-breaking funk and R&B music. Now the fourth wife that says here, oh my bad, Tommy Ray Brown, is accusing close to the singer of providing him with dangerous drugs and murdering him, according to the Mirror. The 50-year-old London-based singer is now calling for a police investigation. Oh, I didn't know she was a singer herself. Tommy Ray alleges that her former husband was been supplied with cocaine leading up to his death on Christmas Day 2006. Though the cause of death was attributed to heart failure, no autopsy was performed on his body after his daughter, Yama Brown Lunar, declined to have one performed. So it's good. It's an ongoing story. I'm not going to get onto it anymore there. Wow. Which is very sad. It says here that Tommy Ray is, an American singer who claimed to have been the fourth and last wife of James Brown. She is also the mother of James Joseph Brown Jr., born June 11th. Let me, does it say here? Got to go to Wikipedia here for that. Blah, blah, blah. In the meantime, do you have one, or it's my turn again?
Okay. Well, you've been skipped a couple of times, but
my bad.
I'll do another one.
Okay, I'll do this one. I'll make it up with two afterwards.
Okay, my next one is going to dip back into the older realm, kind of. Bobby Darin.
Ah. Bobby Darin. All right. Splish Splash. I was taking a bath. That was my first song I heard from him, and I guess he was taken from us in 1973, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I believe so.
I think didn't he endorse Robert F. Kennedy?
I don't know that, but possibly. I never.
Maybe I never really got. I remember hearing on one of those mystery scandals programs on the E channel there, and they had said that he endorsed some candidate, and possibly Robert Kennedy was one of the people that he endorsed.
Well, I generally try to stay out of politics.
Yeah.
And if musicians and actors endorse politicians, I don't know. I just see something wrong with that.
I know it is. Yeah, that's true there. Yeah, but who knows?
I'm famous. Vote for my guy. Why don't I make up my own mind?
Okay. Yeah. All right, there. Okay. I'm gonna just make up for since I skipped a couple here. I'm going to mention a couple more here from the R&B realm there. Ronald Isley from the Isley Brothers, great voice, an unspeakable voice. Throughout the career with the Isley Brothers, and throughout the early 2000s and the 90s, with his association with R. Kelly. When he got involved with R. Kelly in that one music video, and we're not talking Trapped in the Closet, we're talking about this storyline where Isley played a mob boss. R. Kelly gets involved with this woman there, big mistake there. While of course, the gangster Mr. Biggs is out on a business trip. Mr. Biggs finds out, beats the crap out of R. Kelly, beats the crap out of the wife to where she dies on the hospital bedside. And of course, Mr. Biggs' character that Isley kind of took into his own, made it his own character. And I guess that was one of the most memorable moments of Ronald Isley. Now he had some tax troubles throughout the that period as well, and apparently he was also responsible for the breakup between this R&B duo known Renee and Angelia. Renee and Angelia were supposed to do some production work for one of the Isley Brothers albums, and apparently Ronald Isley himself was getting involved, kind of in between those two there, siding often with Angelia. Renee decided to remain more from one half of that duo, decided to leave as a result. And then Angelia and Isley ended up getting married. And I guess, I don't know if that marriage lasted or if it divorced or what it was. Definitely got to look that up sometime soon there. But Ronald Isley, is considered one of the prime R&B vocalists around the 70s and 80s as well. And you should also check out their cover of If Leaving Me Is Easy, the Phil Collins song.
Right.
Yeah, I heard it a couple times, and it's pretty good there. It's almost similar to the original there.
Were you going to do another? You want me to go?
I'll do another one, another R&B favorites, Got to give this man, credit. Morris Day of The Time, who I reported on a couple of episodes back that was having trouble getting the rights to that name back from the Prince estate. Now, Morris Day is a good singer. He did a good, phenomenal job on the ballad Girl. Also, Gigolos Get Lonely Too. And of course, he had this real funky persona as this arrogant, I'm cool as hell, type of dude there, badass to the core. Always have a assistant, a bodyguard by his side, that being Jerome Benton. He had a solo career as well. The Color of Success, the song Fishnets. He had an album called Guaranteed. He came back to The Time, and it was called The Morris Day in The Time for a while there, up until this issue came about that I mentioned. So, excuse me. So definitely, Morris Day gets a nod from me there. And my sister, because she was a big fan of their music as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Another crooner. Andy Williams.
Ah, I see there.
He had songs like Moon River.
All right.
I Can't Get Used to Losing You.
That's right.
There are others, and he's another guy that's got a catalog worth exploring.
All right. Yeah, that's a be. And shout out, I guess, let's see. Shout out to Jake Bars in my chat here. He just did say that the vocals of Phil Collins is incredible. You know what? We got to. I'm glad you meant. I was thinking about him as well while we're doing this. We got to give him credit because he's a good, phenomenal singer as well. There.
Yeah.
As well as a damn good drummer, or was a good drummer, and a phenomenal songwriter as well. Right.
And of course, well,
Mm-hmm.
I was going to go with Peter Gabriel too, but I'm not going to do that.
Oh, I'll do that later on. I'll do that after you do your next pick.
Okay, I'm going to go with Sam Cooke.
Another good singer there, because he came out with some real dandy good songs there, as we mentioned.
You Send Me, Cupid.
Yep. It's Saturday night and I got no place to go.
Yeah, and he also met a tragic end.
Yeah, I know. He was, if I understand, he was shot by some lady in a hotel lobby there, in the hallway there.
Yeah, and she said he was trying to attack her, which, who knows, it was her word against nobody's.
He said, she said bullshit. We heard, how many times have we heard that? Multiple times. So, all right, my next pick is the one we just mentioned, Peter Gabriel, the former frontman of Genesis. No mistake in his voice and his work, his work with Amnesty International, the songs he did, like Salisbury Hill, Shock the
Yeah.
Monkey, who guess it was one of the first songs to speak out against animal vivisection, if I am correct. I got to look
Yeah.
up the Wikipedia to find out for sure there.
Games people play,
Oh,
not
yeah.
games people play, Games Without Frontiers.
Oh, yeah, definitely there. Biko, the song about anti-apartheid activist Stephen Biko. His
In
like,
Your Eyes.
yep, Sledgehammer, Big Time. And of course, we cannot forget his film's work as his film scores as well. Look up the
Yeah.
album Passion, Music for the Last Temptation of Christ, which came out a year after the movie came out. Phenomenal work on that album. Phenomenal from start to finish. So props to you, Mr. Gabriel. And shouldn't it be, did he retire or is he making a new record or what is, because he hasn't released anything in a long while there when you think about it.
True.
That's true. He should probably get back in the game there. It would be nice for him to pop up at the current Genesis reunion tour there and do some songs from that era and bring Steve
Yeah.
Hackett with you.
Yeah.
You know? Okay.
My next one is the guy with the sunglasses who was also played with a while with Traveling Wilburys, Roy Orbison.
All right.
A lot of hits in the 60s and 70s.
Yep.
A lot of them.
Yep. Crying was one of
Yeah.
them, which he remade with a K.D. Lang back in 1986 there.
Yeah.
His last
And
hit was called You Got It, produced by Jeff Lynne.
yeah. Yeah. And Oh Pretty Woman was his big one.
Oh, absolutely there, yeah. Speaking of Old Pretty Woman, did you ever mention, you remember the Van Halen video for that song there?
I don't remember the video.
Oh man, it should be on YouTube. You go look up the official video for Pretty Woman by Van Halen. It was a trip video to look at that time. Definitely. People my age who saw the original on the old MTV will know what I'm talking about there. All right, that's my turn. My next pick will have to be, of course, John Anderson of Yes.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I guess he's still fronting one of the two Yes lineups that are out there, because I understand there was two versions going on. And of course, Anderson has been involved with all Yes albums except for one,
Right.
Drama from 1980. Great album, by the way. I definitely recommend. Trevor Horn, who was part of the Buggles. Remember, a video killed the radio star a year before, was a big underground hit. And become the
Which
first.
was actually the very first video on MTV.
Yep. And him and Jeff Downs would later become members of Yes for that album and tour. And of course, unfortunately, Yes would break up because of issues and arguments and whatnot. But John Anderson is definitely one of the top-notch prog rock vocalists out there.
Yeah.
All the albums he did with that group, the Yes album, Going for the One, one of my favorites from them, Close to the Edge, our live albums like, Yes songs. Definitely props to John Anderson for as well there.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Okay, next one I'm going to dip in the country again.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to go with Marty Robbins.
Oh.
If you ever heard the song El Paso, that's easily his biggest hit.
Yeah, you
But
mentioned that a couple of times there, that song.
but he had a lot of other pretty good songs. But that one is a story,
Ah,
and it's worth listening to.
all right. Okay. My next pick was a man who I guess passed away, and I guess in 2015 or 20. I think it was somewhere around the later 2000s. Greg Lake from both King Crimson and Emerson Lake and Palmer.
And Asia.
And it, yeah, one gig with Asia, you should mention. Remember that Asia and Asia thing that John Wetton
Yeah,
walked out, for some reason there. There was a lot of issues going on. And Greg Lake was brought in by Carl Palmer to take his spot for that performance.
yeah,
So definitely, Greg Lake gets a nod from me there. With not only his
yes,
work, the songs he did with both those bands, Crimson and ELP, C'est La Vie, Lucky Man, Epitaph, I Talk to the Wind, then the chord The Crimson King, Pictures of a City, In the Wake of Parisian, all those songs he did with both those bands. And his solo career as well. He had a couple of solo albums there in the
yeah,
1980s after
yeah,
ELP's disbandment. So, credit to you, Mr. Lake, for your work.
yeah. And if you guys ever want to watch a great live performance by ELP, look up Emerson, Lake and Palmer live at Royal Albert Hall.
All right, there. Give me for a second. There we go. All right.
Okay. Next one I'll mention is Robert Goulet.
All right. All right. Nice.
I sure am talking about a lot of people from the 50s.
Yeah. Then again, you're a lot more older than I am. And
Oh, this is
lo-
true.
yeah, it's
Well,
true. And
not a lot.
that's true. But you also, when you think about it, a lot of these records, you're talking about our stuff that my dad had in his collection. He had a lot of stuff. I guess he had one Robert Goulet, one Johnny Cash, and I guess had a couple. But most of it was jazz records by Count Basie, Duke Ellington, um, Earl Boswick, all those guys there. And so he didn't have that much crooners. Oh, we cannot
Right,
forget Sandy Nelson. That album, Let There Be Drums, he had that in his
right.
collection. Right there.
Yeah, when I mentioned him as a drummer, you were the only one that knew what he was.
Absolutely. I mean, who can forget the piece "Let There Be Drums"?
Yeah,
I was intrigued. I was a kid listening to that. I was intrigued by that piece there. The birth of the beat is what I'm talking about. I should
yeah.
say. Okay, my next pick would have to be this. It would have to be the singer for the band Skid Row, the original singer, Sebastian Bach, because he is a damn good vocalist. Despite getting himself with trouble with the law almost every 2 minutes, Sebastian Bach definitely gets a nod for being one of the great singers for Skid Row. In fact, so far, the new singer of Skid Row, whose name escapes me, he's just pretty much comes close to what Bach did in the past. So definitely, he deserves a nod,
Right. Excuse me.
right?
Next one I'll mention is Johnny Mathis.
Ah,
Chances are.
yep. And what is his other signature song? Um, dang gummit. I was going to say something about San Francisco, but, I'm thinking of the Left My Heart in San Francisco, but that was already mentioned. The signature song for Tony Bennett there. So,
Right.
but then again, a lot of artists at that realm covered almost the same song, like Little Green Apples on every record that they
Yeah.
put out.
Yeah, a lot of little green apples floating
Yeah,
around.
absolutely, absolutely there. But I think Mathis he did a duet. I guess it was the theme for the show Family Ties in the 1980s.
Yeah, but I don't know the name of it off the top of
Neither
my
do
head.
I, but I just remember how some of it went there. All right. My next nod will have to be not much of a high pitched singer, but a good singer in his own right, Alice Cooper.
Yeah,
You know,
good one.
absolutely. He's not one of those. He's not like Rob Halford. He's not like the vocal styles of Sebastian Bach, but he had his own style of vocals. He wasn't a high pitched singer, as I mentioned, but he had his own unique style that was kind of creepy, that was edgy as well.
And he had the ballads "You and Me" and "Only Women Bleed."
Yep, and I Never Cry.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Love's a Loaded Gun.
and of course, among my favorites was "Ballad of White Fry."
Oh, yeah. My favorites from him is Clones Were All, his cover of the song Talk Talk, his cover of Spirit's I Got a Line on You. That's one of my favorites there.
Wow.
You know, that was from 1985 for the Iron Eagle 2 soundtrack, by the way. So, props to the Coop there.
And it was Killer, Halo of Flies.
Yep.
Oh
Dead
man.
Babies.
Yeah. Oh
Yep.
yeah.
Oh, that caused a lot of controversy, that's for sure there.
Another one that did that was Cold Ethel.
Oh boy, and we all know the subject of that one. That's for sure. Cooper is often credited to tapping into that one thing that people don't really mention about.
Yeah. Of course,
Another
it was "I
example.
Love the Dead."
Yep. Plus, we got the song "Unfinished Suite" about going about a little
Right.
something called going to the dentist,
Yeah.
which often kids used to fear when they were growing up.
Elected.
Absolutely, there. No doubt, election time comes along. We always hear that track playing on classic rock stations. And
Yeah.
and of course, Billion Dollar Baby. So I guess was meant to be a slap in the face on all these about excess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Quite a guy.
he was, and still on. I guess he's going to be coming to Texas pretty soon. There, I don't know which venue there.
His real name's Vincent Furnier, isn't it?
Yep, from Detroit, Michigan. His father was a minister, and he's a born-again Christian as well, by the way, there. He had some sort of illness back in the early... I guess what it was is that one of his most notorious stories that was his addiction to alcohol, that he, of course, had to go to an institution to get over.
Yeah.
The chronicles about details about that was put out on an album called From the Inside from 1978, which spawned the hit How You Gonna See Me Now, which is his letter to Cheryl, his wife, saying she's going to see the real me and she's not going to like it. Will you going to love me when I come home from this? Will you still love me the same? And I guess she still did. They're still together
Yeah.
to this very day.
Of course, one of my favorite songs by him was Alice Cooper goes to hell or go to hell.
Oh yeah, that was a real, is there anybody in the outside world that you cannot stand who screwed you over, who did something maliciously heinous to someone or a group of people? That's the song you would send that out to.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, my next one is Steve Lawrence.
Ah, there.
Another one from back in the day.
Yeah, and what's his wife's name? Edie Gourmet, I think it's called.
Correct.
Mhm.
Edie
Ah,
Gourmet.
yeah, they did records together, I guess.
Yeah.
Together.
Yeah.
All right, there. I don't know much in his songs as his catalog there. I've only heard the name and both their names a few times in the past there.
I've heard the catalog, but if you ask me right now the name of any of the songs, well, you know how it is. A lot of times you know the songs, but you don't know them right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. All right, there. My next nod would be a singer. I guess he's from Germany, if I'm correct. He started out with a band called Stone Fury, whose debut record, Burns Like a Star, I have a review of on my channel here. He would later join. Excuse me. Let me get myself together again. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. He would later become the frontman for the band Kingdom Come, which had a few hit songs back in 1988. Get It On was the first one of
Right.
them. And lots of people came down hard on that group for copying Led Zeppelin's style of music. In fact, Jimmy Page at one point called them Kingdom Clone at one point.
Hmm.
I guess even Robert Plant, didn't appreciate their style as well there. But then again, he also said the same thing about Whitesnake when Still in the Night first came out there. People were comparing that to the same style that Whole Lotta Love was rearranged or arranged at that time there. And of course, David Coverdale was not too happy about that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that Led Zeppelin would be accusing anybody of copying.
When they did the same thing themselves. Exactly. We all know the story of. I told the story behind Boogie with Stu, Dazed and Confused, The Hunter being interpreted at one of the parts of How Many More Times. And who cannot forget the lawsuit that the band members of Spirit had against Zeppelin for the beginning of Stairway to Heaven being the same as the Spirit track, Taurus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because on the liner notes of one of their albums, Randy California mentioned it, and he said he was flattered.
Yeah, I remember,
so it didn't bother him, and he's the one that wrote it.
Exactly, But then again, sometimes the estate and the individual don't exactly come up with the same conclusions. You remember the Prince Spaghetti commercial that I mentioned from 1984 during the Prince's successful period there. Prince Spaghetti came out with this ad advertising their brand. They come up with some purple lights, and it's like, ladies and gentlemen, Prince, and it shows a plate of spaghetti. Oh, that Prince. And I guess the management of Prince himself didn't care for that, so they filed a lawsuit against Prince Spaghetti, whereas in an interview, Prince himself said he thought it was cute. That commercial was. But like I said, sometimes management teams and the artists' ideas don't always match.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's happened a few times in the past there.
Okay, I'm going to go way off the beam on my next one.
All right.
Luciano Pavarotti.
Oh my gosh, the opera singer that I mentioned about earlier, still phenomenal still probably one of the top-notch opera singers of all time.
Yeah, he's got one of those definite opera voices.
Absolutely. And I guess he had a movie out called Yes, Giorgio, I guess, somewhere in the 80s there. I don't know if it was a success or a bomb or whatever it was, but he definitely had a movie out. Definitely, I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, do we want to go ahead and start closing? Because it is been over an hour.
Yeah, exactly. About 77 minutes there to be exact when you throw it. Or actually over 77 minutes there, I should say there. We've been an hour and 23 minutes. And
yeah, we better go ahead and do a part 2 on Thursday.
Okay, I definitely do. We'll definitely do that there. Hopefully we'll get YR and Keith back on, but if not, it'll be just us once again there. And I guess while we were doing the show, I decided, I'm going to be using this computer here that I'm using, my previous one, instead of the one I'm using, to do recording, streaming, because this one seems to work a lot better than the other one. I still got to ask either my nephew or somebody else about it. I know YR mentioned about, fixing the whole thing, getting it set up there.
Yeah. Well, I'll use my standard laptop.
All right.
I've got 2 other computers, but I use them for other things.
Yeah, there, yeah. So definitely, I'm going to stick with use this one here. Right there. All right, so I guess this Thursday we'll continue to do part 2 of our male singers catalog here. And hoping YR and Keith are doing well there. I know YR was in my chat earlier today. Want to give him a shout out there, as well as Keith. I was
Yeah,
gonna.
and I
I
wish
did
both of them the best.
absolutely. Hopefully they'll be back this coming Thursday. We'll have to wait and see up until that time there. Now I tried to get Minnesota Vikings fan on the show there, but I don't think he has his Skype on because he went live. Not just talking about playing some clips and this and that there. All right, so I guess later on tonight, if all goes well, I'll probably do a techno or ambient stream tonight. I just got to get the sources ready and all ready to go.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, feels good to go live once again. Of course, not from my main computer, but from this one, but who the fuck cares? All right, so 7 p.m. Eastern Time was when we'll be back for
On
Arknolia
Thursday.
on Thursday. Yep. And for Arknolia and myself, you guys have enjoyed the rest of your Monday evening, okay? We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Okay, that was good. That